You're listening to A Common Link on Hearts of Being with natural health practitioner Terry Bell on Common Roots Radio. I just heard about this young fellow who he knows it's food that's affecting him. He knows it's a bad diet. He's been encouraged by others, or not talked into, but just encouraged. Well, you just need to mellow out. You just need to smoke up a bit. You know, just kind of let go of the world and your worries and your anger about how you see the world and the corruption here and the corruption there. Just smoke up a bit. But what does that do to the brain and to the body if they start smoking up? And then they don't know their limitations on smoking up. They just think and believe that they can do it either once a day, every single day, yes, or 3 times a day, or all day long.
Yes.
What's the issue there?
There was a program the other night on alcohol.
Okay.
Alcohol instantly interferes with the neurotransmitters in your brain. And I have a brother that drank so much that he's talking normal here, and he will have 1 beer, then he goes to talking, he'll go like this, today. That's all you understood. It was like he was talking another language. That's how much it's interfered with his brain. And I always tell people, they say, I'm on a little bit of dope, just a little though. I said, do you know anybody on dope that's intelligent? You know, it's actually stupid, and you can't fix stupid. Unless they want to change that. They want to say out loud every morning in the mirror, I want to change this depression. Then they'll go do something about it. You got to say it out loud to yourself, convince yourself, because somebody's convinced you that you're depressed. You listen to them all day long, and this goes along with careers too. They're fighting away. This kid that he's working can hardly make ends meet. And everybody tells him, stick with your job. Don't go try better yourself. You know, school doesn't do you no good. You're listening to the wrong people. Get away from that. You sit with a millionaire, long enough you'll be one. Sit with a farmer, you're going to be a farmer. Sit with idiots, I don't have to tell you what happens there.
So, yes. Okay. So moving along,
so there's lots of things that cause it.
It's to admit to yourself that you've got an issue.
And you need help.
And that you need to help yourself, because other people can't help you until you face the fact you need help.
Yes.
Is that true?
That's exactly it. This happens at work, I will say, what happened? They say, well, it wasn't my fault. People say that all the time. It was their fault. They always blame. As soon as you blame somebody else, the brain is smart enough to say, it's not my fault. Don't change anything you're doing. It's their fault. Now, we'll just stay that way and expect a different result, but nothing's happened. Now I didn't become successful. It's not my fault. It's somebody. Well, the brain says, let's just keep doing what you're doing, then we're not going to change it. You have to say, what part of this is my fault? Because if I'm not part of the solution, I'm definitely part of the problem. And you got to say to yourself, do I need help, or is it everybody else's fault? A lot of depression is somebody else made them depressed. Mm-hmm. It's not what you're dealt in life. It's how you deal with it.
Yeah, people are like that. We're just like that. We keep on chasing the wrong person when we really need to look in the mirror and say, hey, it's me.
Yes, and you can tell people it's really important being a parent, mm-hmm, not quarreling or fighting in front, mm-hmm, of your kids, because they'll pick that up. And they'll pick that up. So if a guy beats his wife, the son will probably do the same thing. Doesn't mean every time. He's got to change that course of action, which I met a kid that did. He hit his girlfriend this summer, and I said, you know what? Your dad does that all the time. I know I don't want that in me. Then admit that to yourself in the mirror every day. Say, I'm not going to be like that. You want to change that. And he gets him horribly depressed. He doesn't even know why he gets mad. Well, let's find out why you get mad. So we tested. And very easy, they can come along. Let's change some foods. I was surprised. I went with him for 3 days for lunch, and every day he ate garbage food and says, I don't know why I'm sick. It was garbage food. Pop. Mm-hmm. It could be Coke. But you can have Coke or anything, you know, but have it at the right time. If you have it with other foods, it starts a chain of rotting it instead of digesting. When food rots, okay, it knocks your whole system for a loop.
So you could still have that rum and Coke. It all, yes, depends at what time of day.
Yes.
And it depends on whether you're eating or not. I mean, you can have certain foods.
at the right timing.
Yeah, so part of this is common sense, but we're not sharing our common sense anymore because we all want to believe that we know better than the next person.
Yes.
So I'm hearing that we need to get back into the basics of common sense and dealing with the sugars and saying, well, sugar and meat don't mix. Don't have the rum and Coke when you're having a steak.
No, that's exactly it. And don't have pizza when you're drinking. Eat before good, then drink in the evening, and it'll keep you from getting drunk. But you start eating them together, the pancreas works both right and left side. It doesn't know what to do. Sugar, salt, sweets, it's trying to decipher what enzyme to produce, and it gets knocked off kilter. And then it starts to store it, and then you get depressed, bitchy, next morning, and you relay that just like dominoes.
So what you're saying is my organs are something like the fish in that aquarium. I start dumping all kinds of stuff in there. The fish don't know what to eat anymore. It's like...
Yes. And do you notice one person can come into work and you can cut the air?
Yeah.
Because they can make the whole place uncomfortable. You can destroy the whole workplace by being crabby because of what you're eating. And if you really care about your body, look it up. Or some people come and see us and say, what do I have to do? Do you really want to change? You have to tell them. Because if you do, I'll help you. If you just want to fly by night, it's not hard. You just can't eat white bread, but you can eat rye bread. You can eat Silver Hills. Some people have red 5 wheat bread, really good. Other breads, I tested for them, wonderful. And they feel good now. And they always tell me when they come back, oh, the last 2 weeks I've been off and I feel horrible. Yeah, because you're eating bad foods for you.
Yeah.
What's bad for you is not usually bad for me. It can be for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Everybody's uniquely different.
You're saying everyone is absolutely different. There are certain foods that are affecting them and certain trace minerals and supplements that they would need to boost, or even just an herb that can help with their system to get back on track.
Yes, and so important is food that a woman phoned and said, my kid's been with you 6 months, and how come they're such a brat? Okay, so first of all, how did you figure out that was my fault? Second, they're eating sweets. She wouldn't answer me. Watch this. As soon as they eat a sweet, they'll go rangy and throw everything and they won't listen. She did that for 4 days, phoned me back, said, I can't believe it. So here's how you get it under control. I'll tell him you can have a sweet now. But if you don't start controlling your anger, sweets are off. You're out. So every time you think you deserve one, you either control your anger or it's out. It really works. Amazing how many people with sweets knocks their system for a loop. Then husband phoned me from Toronto. They're a good customer, and she was, she got her husband mad at me, and he phoned me. They've been on herbs for a year. The kids always feel sickly and cold. I got on a plane next morning, flew down there, rented a car, drove to their house, test the kids. Here's what's happening. They're eating chocolate. That's all. And she wouldn't answer me. Well, just answer me yes or no. Because chocolate's showing up. It's destroying their lives, and that's why they got colds and that. Stop the chocolate in a week, there's no problems.
Is it a certain type of chocolate?
Yes. You can test one chocolate shows 70% good. The other one's 10, which means 90% bad. Then those kids will be really rangy. They'll throw toys and fight and hit their mother. But the thing is, if you don't have discipline, you're going to have somebody out of control.
Yes. So some people believe that it's the power of the mind can make the child decide on whether they're going to be good or bad. It's the child that should determine.
Yes.
But it also goes to, as an adult, it's our choice to have a good day or a bad day. And you mentioned that earlier, but it's definitely something, we do have those choices, but we also have to understand that how manipulated this is because of the food.
Yes.
And the wrong decisions on the food, and we have no idea.
No, and if you give food to a bigger person, he doesn't know what's happening. That most people don't know. Give it to a child, right away he'll react to the food. Write down how your kid reacts to potatoes, then meats, then mixing them, and make an assumption. You can tell right away, pop and that. If you drink one pop, it takes 34 glasses of water to get it back out of your body by lab tests and experiment. So that means you drank one a week, and most people don't drink 4 glasses of water a day. So that could go 2 weeks before you get that pop-up. That's going to irritate that kid to no end.
So that one pop is going to irritate that one person for 2 weeks until
Yes.
it's cleaned out of the system.
Until it's back
and
out
I
of the
don't
system.
know a lot of youngsters that will drink so much water to get it clear out of their system.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And some kids are labeled autistic, ADHD, FAS. They come and test and say, oh, that's not the problem. You have a lung problem. And the lung problem means not enough water right away.
Okay.
You're low on water. And if you don't have a lung problem, this is what happens. So the kid won't listen. No, if his lungs are at 70% congested, he's got 30% oxygen left, and it's like somebody threw you against a wall and start choking you. You don't care about watching TV now and listening to somebody talk. You got to move to get oxygen. So when they move, they feel good. So they're not worried about you. They just want to keep moving so they feel good.
So they look hyperactive.
Yes.
Okay.
And when they clean their lungs up, say, well, this kid doesn't have that, and he doesn't need all these drugs. They put him on drugs right away to slow him down. A kid's happy, they put him on drugs to slow him down. What? That's a kid. Just change a few foods and they can tell right away what's happening.
I do remember a time where you mentioned that the lungs are like brother-sister relationship with the colon.
Yes.
Okay. So if there's a lung issue, is there a colon issue?
Yes.
Okay.
They both work together. So what you eat, those two work together. It affects your lungs. So if you clean out the lungs, what I do first is cleanse the bowel and get the thyroid going. You need nutrition. As soon as you bowel is the most important. Clean the bowel, and then they say, I'll go to the bathroom 3 times a day. Yeah, but the bowel builds up a coating like a stovepipe or a jello substance and knocks it off. Clean the bowel, and then get the thyroid going for electricity, and most of the body goes back to normal. And a thyroid is a big deal for depression. It's one of the biggest. So they put them on depression pills right away instead of on thyroid pills. Bring their energy back up to normal.
Okay. So the depression pills do work for some people?
Yes, they do.
Okay. But not for everybody?
No, but they're not the same person, though.
Okay.
On that depression, they're not fully themselves. They can feel restrained or in a cloud, or they're not the same laughy, bubbly person.
So it can be a first step to getting better
Yes.
using the medications.
I've had a lot of people with depression. You know what? You can't believe it. Sometimes I say that's why murder was invented. You know, these guys' wives are so depressed, or vice versa. The man is so depressed, he smashes. Man is violent when he's depressed. He'll throw and smash things. The woman will complain. 2 different things on studies done. They won't throw stuff as readily as a man. That's a man's thing. And when that happens, you got to deal with the person, go back, and they're so depressed they can't get up in the morning. Goes back to food, vitamins and minerals. And as soon as you lock that in and they stay on it, they start feeling better and better. So I have hundreds, not exaggerated. I see over 1,000 people a month, just about 1,000 every month. Hundreds are depressed. There's a few I don't get right under control, but a lot of them right away. They're back to normal and up and gone.
What is the usual comment from those people that are up and at it again?
They couldn't believe it was such a simple remedy. It could be iron, omega-3, vitamin D, a B3, 6, 9, and 12. It could be an organ. Just an organ is down. If you have an organ, like a kidney that's down, emotion for that is fear. So if they're living in fear all the time, they're depressed. They're fear. Just had one last night come to my house. He's dying. He's got to go back to work. And he wanted to go back to work, but is it a good thing to go back to work because he was laid off and he didn't have money? Now he does. What if they get mad and in a year from now they get laid off again? Yeah, so that's next year. But he had to come over and I had to give him a part bottle of vitamin B to get him settled down so he could go to work today. And it was because of fear. And he has a kidney problem.
Okay.
And that'll bother him all the time. Fear of everything.
If with a kidney problem, if he's drinking or eating the wrong foods, it's just going to exacerbate the issue.
Yes. Okay. And also here, I told people in the last month, write down as soon as you feel horrible after you eat some. They said they couldn't believe the foods. They'd take a banana and go, oh, I'm just horrible. Write that down now. You acknowledge that. Before you just ignored it. It's part of life. You keep doing that and the body's going to malfunction. And that's why you wonder why you get older faster. You're on diabetic pills. You're on blood pressure pills. A lot of people, I'm 60 years old, they're on medication, mass amounts of it. I can't believe it. The people I went to school with, they're taking diabetic pills, blood pressure pills, beta blockers. Okay, then they're taking circulation pills, then something for their bowel. And they keep on instead of taking a natural. And they go back, a little farther back. Now that I've been telling them, they don't want to hear about it first. They said, oh yeah, the wheat just makes me feel horrible. Never recognized it. Oh, I'm getting a sandwich and I never recognized I had a pain after. Never. Women usually do. They say, I'm not going to eat that anymore. I feel funny. But as a man, he just eats it, thinks that's what he's got to eat, and thank you, and you go sit down and you fall asleep on the couch. If you're fall asleep on the couch right after supper, you have a problem. Two things. You could be overworked. That one can do it. The other one is if you're eating the wrong foods again. It's tiring you out. The body's using so much energy to digest that food, it plays you out.
Can we narrow this down even to the types of oils that we cook with or that we use in our diet?
Yes, you can. Like, see, a lot of people use coconut oil. It seems the more plant-like, the better. Okay? Some people use canola oil. They could use that if they want. I'd rather not, because it's just like having oil. It's a plant that produces oil that you could use in your motor oil. And if it's for a motor or a car, no matter how I tested canola, I couldn't get it to test good to eat. And people were eating and say it's good. No, it's not. I guess the Lord sent a plant that would produce oil so people could have oil and gasoline instead of pulling it from the earth, a different kind of a chemical, because this is more natural. There's, other oils they use. They say corn oil, and they use olive oil, virgin olive oil, to cook. Very good to cook in. Some people use butter. And see, I'd rather eat butter than margarine. Butter is natural. And butter, when you fry with it, is way better than frying with margarine.
I remember even as a child learning that margarine was not a good thing. People are going to make a difference. They're going to connect the dots. So they're going to realize that there's definitely issues with the foods, and bringing it back to the mind and the state of the mind. Once your mind is cleared, how is that other things in the body will kind of go into play?
Just before I go into that, I'll tell you something I heard the other day, and I thought, most ridiculous thing I've ever. They tell, for a while, women shouldn't breastfeed. They were giving them milks to supply. That caused a mass sickness all over. We've never had more sickness than we have now. But now down in Ontario, the cows have to take their milk out. They don't milk them. They don't let the calves suck. The cow has to be milked, and they pasteurize the milk and put it into the calf, just like us. For years, the Lord made a cow. The calf has to get that nutrient out of there. The milk is all pasteurized, and it is already affecting those calves. But they say it's better for them.
Why are they doing this?
They said it's better for them, but they don't want to get diseased milk from the cow.
But they know better. The people that are doing this know.
But even if you take raw milk and drink it, you won't get, in most cases, people. Okay. You take a pasteurized milk, you killed all the enzymes, it's starting to give you phlegm and already. As soon as you got phlegm, means the pancreas cannot produce an enzyme for you to digest your food. Now they got a sale of probiotics. People buying them like crazy, thousands of dollars to fix a problem you never had. They create a problem, then they create a solution to make money. Yeah. So imagine that. Calves, the milk is pasteurized. It sounds like somebody's missing a cog or something, but it's amazing how the food is being destroyed. Well, a lot of supplements, they just go pick them up at a herb food store.
Yeah.
And I tell people, learn how to muscle test. You can learn a few ways. You come down, I'm just going to make a DVD on it, and all the ways to learn how. It's about 30 minutes. Learn how to muscle test. And you can find out what food is good for you, what's not. What supplement is good. They can give you a supplement that's full of corn cob, ground up corn cobs, ashes, and chalk. In there, it's not going to do you any good. When you could get another one, it costs a little more. You say, well, that one's way cheaper. Look at it. Doesn't do nothing for you. People can tell instantly when they take it. I don't want to go back to something that's cheap because you get what you pay for.
Sometimes there are products that are a little less expensive but are very, very good.
Yes, that's why I said muscle testing.
Yeah, and then there are some that are over-exaggerated and may not even work for you.
Some,
Yeah.
I get people every day they come with a brand. They said, look at this, it's supposed to do this, and it's supposed to make people get out of the wheelchair. It's garbage. I tell them that because I'll show you on your arm too, and it's weak. So tell me where it's somebody give you a bunch of information. It's not true. Mm-hmm. So that's why I muscle test and then look at the eyes, tongue, and teeth. So they're not taking a pile of herbs. They just take a few and change your foods.
Yeah.
And if you don't change your food, it's going to take you twice as long to get well.
Okay. How important is salt to the brain
Salt.
and then to the other organs?
Salt is an amazing thing. We're always told not to eat salt. You hear that? Mm-hmm. Get away from salt. I had a blood clot, which ended up I went into cardiac arrest at 15 years old for about 6 minutes. Just conked right out. Went after that. I put a pacemaker in my neck. They told me no salt. No salt of any kind. Oh, food tastes horrible. Salt. If you don't have salt, salt is an electrolyte. And now they have salt. They're right, though, half of that. Don't eat white salt. It's heated to 1,500 degrees and it's bleach. It's not the same animal. They did an experiment in Ontario with the cows. They get them white salt, and they found the smell of the urine went up in the barn, and the milk production went down. That was the guy who told me that. They put an ordinary sea salt, clean sea salt. Milk production went up, urine went down. Somebody said, you mean my urine is going into my milk? No, the water's being used somewhere else for better because it's cleaning your body. It's not polluting or saturating your body.
If the urine is up, then that means that the salt is creating an issue. The salt is not being absorbed by the body.
Yes.
So it's flushing water out of your system. Like
yes.
It's basically sucking your body dry, tossing all that water out, right?
From a bad salt.
From a
people
bad
say
salt.
Salt is salt. That's like saying paint is paint.
Yeah.
And a painter will tell you different. Mm-hmm. So, but salt, if you go to the hospital, the first thing they put in your arm is intravenous.
Oh, yeah.
Sea salt and water. Mm-hmm. You refuse that, and they will ask you to leave because they cannot get a reading. It's electrolyte. It's electrolyte. There's electricity in the body. Salt is negative. Potassium with the P is positive. You need a positive and negative charge, or the body will not run. So salt is so important. You got to have salt. And if you get puffed, bloated, or gastric, I take a 1/4 teaspoon of salt every evening and drink it. Otherwise, I'm dry in the mouth. And it's amazing how it'll take away sore joints, muscles, bones, puffed and bloated and gastric. You need salt or your blood pressure is going to go up. They create a problem, then they create a solution. And it's simple to get rid of the problem. Sea salt, you can get it right up on it from the lab, not from me. And I got one there, and it tells you how good a salt is for you.
You're listening to A Common Link on Hearts of Being with natural health practitioner Terry Bell on Common Roots Radio. Now, you said that if you reject taking the saline solution, the IV, the drip, the drip, if you reject that, they can't do any readings.
No, they can't get
anything.
So
how is it with the electricity in your body and with what's available in the salt? The moment it starts going into your system, I want to hear about the electricity aspect of it and how they can find a reading. What is it that they can't find, and how is it that salt injects this energy?
For instance, some young guy got cold on the kidneys.
Okay.
He ended up in the hospital. His calcium skyrocketed. So, which I had, he texted me and said, why would that happen? I said, you got cold on the kidneys. Get cold on the kidneys, they malfunction, the calcium goes up. Calcium tightens, magnesium relaxes to pump. That pumping effect. Well, I told him you need sea salt and water. They told him that's crazy. They never heard of that. Kidneys doing that. They don't know why, but they don't know. It's crazy he needs sea salt, but he will need 14 bags of saline, which they did, to get him back on track.
14 bags.
When he finished 14 bags, his kidneys went back to normal. That's how much that needs. And there's a positive charge in your body and a negative. Mm-hmm. Salt is a negative charge. Mm-hmm. And when you put that in the body, the electricity comes up, they feel good, and the body can supply electricity evenly to every organ or gland, especially the thyroid.
So that's how important the kidneys are.
Yes, kidneys are that important to salt. You don't have salt, they start piling up with calcium.
Okay. And that's how important the kidneys are even to your thyroid.
Yes.
So
Well, see, the kidney drains off bad water, eh?
Okay.
And the kidney is the identical size of your ears. If you have big ears, you have big kidneys. Little ears, little kidney. And we know a guy, he's a bigger guy, has small ears. You're driving in a van with, you have to stop every hour, he has to go for a pee. That's all his kidneys will hold.
Yeah.
And his bladder. That's amazing how your body is hooked up like that. And just one little thing can interfere it. A guy the other day is dying so bad they can't figure out, why is he falling to pieces? They got him to the hospital and put intravenous, and bang, his weight came up in a few days. Here his potassium was so low in his body, he was told to stay off of all the stuff that gives you potassium. Went drastically low and nearly killed him. One of my customers come back and said, I got to thank you. I said, you can't go off of magnesium. You're going for a knee operation. They said, off of all herbs. When they took him off of it, he crashed. They couldn't believe it. They had to come back in and do a lab test, rushed him to the lab and come back and said, what happened? Did you go off of magnesium? His doctor said, yes. Why did you do that? Because they told me off of all herbs and vitamins, don't ever go off of magnesium. It'll kill you. She goes, was it a herbalist that told you to stay on your magnesium? Yes. Listen to that. Don't listen to anybody. Just went in for another one, said, get off of magnesium. No, I won't do that. Yeah. So they had to give him an override. See, magnesium is a form of salt also.
Okay. Well, Epsom salt. Salt. A lot of women are told to take Epsom salt baths. There's magnesium in Epsom salt.
Yes.
Okay.
And what it does, it relaxes the muscles and it lets the muscles start to work to draw the garbage out of the body. Magnesium makes the left brain talk to the right.
Okay.
Molybdenum makes the right brain talk to the left. But you need magnesium. That's important. And it's a form of salt. Magnesium makes the right brain talk to the left.
Okay.
Or vice versa. And molybdenum makes the left brain talk to the right so they can remain what's in their brain.
All right. So molybdenum is a
mineral in the brain that makes the brain function. See, every vitamin mineral is so important. You just miss once. Potassium, you can fall to pieces and die. Miss salt, your bones start collapsing.
Yeah.
So you need all of those. Okay. So when I come in and test them, I just give them what they're missing in their diet. If you're missing a pile, you need a little more. But usually you only need 1, 2, 3 herbs. That's it. It'll put you back on track.
I hear you talk a lot about farm animals. And what is the fascinating part about this is that animals can't speak. They can't tell you what the issues are. How do you go about determining what are the issues with an animal?
That's muscle testing comes in. I can't look in a pig's eye or a horse because I'm scared of the horse and that, but I will muscle test. I just have to touch them. You can muscle test. And there was thousands of pigs down in Toronto rotting and dying. So a company asked me, would you come down and listen to me and test the animals? Told them how it works. So I had to touch the tail of the pig. Well, they thought I was a little bit silly. As soon as I touched it, it showed it up. They need 3 pounds of kelp, 2 pounds of bentonite per ton of feed. And the guy said bentonite draws all the minerals out. Just if the cow, let's say the cow, was having a calf, you have to get them off of, the last month, you have to get them off of bentonite, or some of the afterbirth will stay in the cow. That's all. Well, in 2 weeks after doing that, all the pigs got well because their thyroid was drastically low and they had horrible products stuck in their body, impurities.
Okay.
And that's how they found bentonite. Bentonite was found by the rats in Manitoba. They would poison them. They'd go down the ground and come up like nothing happened, like they were eating candy. So when they shot one and looked at his stomach, he'd go down the ground, eat bentonite, come up. Bentonite's charged negative. It sucks the poison into the middle and makes him poop it out.
Okay.
So they knew the antidote right away, the animal.
Okay. So is bentonite still on the market right now?
Well, Bentonite, Health Canada barred it, but they're barring everything. That's why I tell our customers, do not put on your testimony what you took, because somebody seems to spot it.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, next week, Health Canada is pulling it because it's a horrible risk now. It might affect somebody, and I think it might affect somebody's money, but it's unbelievable how many products, just like Zeolite, they had a bad write-up on it.
Really?
Yet I have people that take Zeolite 2 tablespoons in the morning and 2 at night, and their diabetes just about disappears in 3 months That's how fast it works.
That has an impact on
Oh, yes.
the bottom line.
Because people with diabetes spend about $300 a month.
I'm hearing even of certain medications that are costing $1,000 a month, $1,400 a month. And
So you're working for another entity which you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Get on track. I was down in Toronto and I told this guy, take this herb. He's on 4 needles a day. When I come back, he's a tough nut.
yeah,
He come back and I said, did it work? Maybe. Why? Then he started laughing and said, I'm down to 1 needle a week from 4 needles a day, just doing what you said. I can't believe it. My life is so convenient now. I love it. And I said, you may just have to take that 1 needle a week, but it's way less. Sometimes you can't repair that organ right back to normal because of what his eating habits are.
yeah. Just knowing has some power that will remove something that really benefits people really kind of throws me for a loop. Because I really don't want to see people affected wrongly by this.
Yes. It's slowly like, you could see, it's slowly like communism. We'll control your food and tell you to give all your money in for your taxes, and we'll tell you what to do. You keep working. So it's getting to be an environment where if it's horrible for you, that's good. But if it's not, just like you see some of these energy drinks, it says that they're horrible, but they're passed by Health Canada.
Yeah.
And something else that's natural, no, we can't pass that. We're worried about somebody might go to the bathroom too much. That would be the side effect. Instead of another side effect, we're not worried about it. So it always goes back to that. So you know who's going to control, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You control the food. It shouldn't even be the Food and Drug Act. It should be food, different entity than the drug. Because when they got together, you can control a lot.
Well, we have a huge influx of immigrants coming into the country and refugees now from Syria. I read an article just a week or two ago in one of the online newspapers, and the topic was how Muslims don't want to eat just any meat being given to them. They want their halal meat, and I think this is a good thing. It's like eating kosher meat. Some people want kosher meat, some people want halal meat. But when it comes to donations, people don't care what they're donating, or not that they don't care. They care greatly about what they're donating, but they believe that everyone should be eating the same thing. How important is that even to, well, when I hear you say, if you're coming from another area of the world, eating something from here is going to create maybe imbalances in the body. How important is it that we start understanding and listening to one another and sharing this information?
Well, you know what? Every day you can pick up a tip just from somebody coming in. And over the years, if I hear it, I already lock it into my brain. What a good tip. Just on changing your bread. I tell people, you don't want to change nothing else. Just change your bread. And they feel such a difference in a month. They can't believe it. Said, that changed my whole life. My legs stopped aching, my back, but they're taking a pill to kill the pain, which now bothers the liver and kidney. Now they got to take a pill for that to stop that bothering that, and that bothers something else.
Yeah. So how important is it even for religious aspects? Some people don't want to eat beef.
Yes.
How important is it that we pay attention to those who don't want beef for religious reasons?
But it doesn't matter for any reason. You should have a choice to eat what you want.
Okay.
So if you want to eat garbage food, that's good. It comes along with a lot of attachments of bad stuff. If you want to eat good food, you really shouldn't be able to change somebody's diet. Just suggest. I know if you harp on them, they won't. But just suggest change to another bread. Get a bread you like and you won't go off of it. And you'll stay healthy and you can be satisfied.
Okay. So it's just the power of intention, really, putting it out there and letting people know that they have their choices and that they should respect those choices and move forward. Okay, good. Where do we go from the depression now that we're coming out of the topic now? from depression? Where do we take it now?
Okay, the second biggest, that is a big one, depression lately. Another one is weight. Remember I mentioned weight, 80% of the population? And that's the same thing, the foods you choose to eat. And just in the last while, depression for a long time. And then I was on people that were in strokes, working to get them out of it. People came right out of their strokes, back to normal life, changing some foods. And the topic every time they come in is tired and weight. I gotta get me from being tired. So I've just about knocked those to zero the last while, really studying on them. And I found out some people just drinking certain drinks change the time of day and their weight will start dropping. Just in the last 3 months I found that out. And so if they drink water, just before they took supper, just before they took it, some people, they do fine. Next one has to wait till after supper to have water, and it kicks in. And just finding those drinks out. Believe it or not, some people have to have coffee. Have to have it. A lady can't go to the toilet, and the only thing that showed up was coffee. And when she took coffee, she said, my bowel goes perfect. That means she's low on acid in the bowel. She's eating too many alkaline foods. She became too alkaline, and it's down. Here's another one. Shocked the lady. She has diarrhea all the time. And what showed up was a half a Pepsi. Half a Pepsi a day. She started taking a half a Pepsi, no more diarrhea. Quits it, it's gone. That means the flapper in her bowel is falling open. There's not enough acid to shut it. So the food keeps draining in the acid into her bowel, creates diarrhea steady. She'd say half a Pepsi, is she crazy? She stays very healthy on it. She needs that acid, too alkaline of a body. That's really different, eh?
That is very different. Who would know?
Yes, and there's one lady couldn't get her bowel to go at all. Up to 12 days, imagine that. I told her, you need milk. I'm lactose intolerant. Take milk. She'll take an ounce of milk a day. Bang! It makes her bowel kick in and it cleans it out and she feels like $1 million. Because it tells the body, evacuate, clean it out, and start up again. So that's what she has to do. And that's the best bowel movement she ever has with that. Just an ounce of milk a day.
Just an ounce of milk?
And it puts her bowel back on track. That's how unique people are.
Yeah, fascinating. It boggles the mind. My mind is trying to comprehend all the information that you're giving me because it's just kind of like, it's so simple.
Yes.
It's so simple, yet it's complicated because not everybody can test the body as finely. There are many people that are doing this now, that are muscle testing and looking at iridology and that. And actually the demand for reading and doing all of this is greater and greater as you move on.
Just like people can't sleep.
Yeah.
I said, do you eat something in the day? They said they fall asleep at noon. Bread. Then if you can't fall asleep at night, get up and make half a piece of toast, eat it, and you'll fall asleep. It'll make you use it to your advantage, the food. It makes you sleepy. Then take it at bedtime, and it'll knock them out. Just have a half a piece of toast.
Okay.
Same with your blood pressure's low. People have low blood pressure. I told them, you know what to tell you? Never take licorice. It drives your blood pressure up. Take licorice. Low blood pressure goes back to normal right away. It means you're short of licorice in your system.
Okay.
It's kind of neat. I use the opposite. Out of everything bad, there's a good side to it.
Mm-hmm. Bringing it back to the food and not so much on the supplement thing, I think is really necessary for people to understand. And it's to create major change in our food systems. The only way we can heal the planet is stop manipulating the food so much.
Yes.
And I have many scientists and doctors that agree with me on that. And we fall in love with good food again, like our ancestors did. And they took great care of the food they grew and fed their families. And making sure that we're eating the right foods, I think will really respect our bodies more and respect one another more. So you're really saying to bring it local. If we eat what's grown around us is much healthier for our bodies.
Yes.
Right?
Eating freshwater fish from Manitoba is way better than importing salmon from a different place because you're in that area. You adapt to it like an animal.
Okay. So you're saying we're adapting to our world where it's right here. So when we die, those nutrients go back to the soil. The soil goes back and becomes a full cycle,
Yes.
right? So it's not to manipulate any of that.
See, that air you were born in, too. A guy was born in Manitoba. He went to Kelowna. He's dying. He noticed when he come back to Manitoba, he felt beautiful. Maybe because he was on a holiday, he thought, back to Kelowna, almost dying. And here that altitude and the food that he eats at Kelowna is completely different than he eats when he's in Manitoba. That changes. Even the altitude will change. Because you're born on that ground, you will adapt to it.
Okay.
It's actually amazing, that part.
That's how sensitive we are.
Yes.
That's astounding. Wow. That really closes off the show.
Okay. Thank you for having me on the show. And I love telling people little tips about how to make their life exciting. It's exciting if you're healthy. If you're not healthy, it's horrible.
Yeah. It's feeding the mind the right information and allowing people to grow. So thank you so much.
Okay. Glad to be here.
This is so good.
Just talk a bit.
Oh.
A couple of fillers.
And like I said, that guy from Kelowna, they couldn't believe it. Why is he dying? Same with people with horrible arthritis. They moved from the States. They go back to Florida, nothing, because the heat level in their body came up. So if you want to get rid of their arthritis, somebody from a foreign country, give them cayenne pepper. It brings the heat level up like they're in a country with a lot of sun.
Okay.
Now they feel good again. They're back to that normal feeling. So you want to get that feeling. That's amazing, though. But people, they're freezing day and night to take cayenne. Say, never. It's just like being in Florida. So you want to bring that heat level up in the body.
Okay. For people who are snowbirds going to Arizona,
Yes.
going to Texas, for some, they can't stay in Florida. It's too humid. They have to be in Arizona.
Yes, they are. A lot of my customers are.
Okay.
They go into Arizona and they feel good. But some of them say they'll take a holiday from the herbs I give them. Well, in a few weeks now they're phoning back. You better send those herbs out because we're dying. They can feel the change. They're missing that in their diet. I balanced their food for a diet. So they'll feel better and better. The better food you eat, the better you feel every day.
Okay. I feel that way with just the dulse and the cat's claw.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I find that it gives me so much more energy. I don't even get the hot flashes when I'm on the dulse and cat's claw. And right now, I've taken a big holiday from all of the supplements and the herbs because I had taken them for over a decade. But I just had to take a break because I could just feel it in a certain area of my stomach that it was getting upset. Like I have an issue there.
Yeah, and so you have to change.
So I have to change it.
See, every 3 months I test and say, you stay the same next time. You got to change all of the herbs now because your body's to a limit. It's looking for help somewhere else.
Okay. So
Makes a real difference, yes. Sometimes I can have potassium. Next time I can't because I'll get cramps, too much potassium.
Yeah, because I noticed for the longest time, for years and years and years, I was taking the exact same herbs no matter how many times I had seen you.
Yes.
And at one point, it totally changed. You said, no, you need cinnamon this time.
Yes.
And I was really surprised. So cinnamon, how does that?
Cinnamon starts making your pancreas decide where the sugar is going to go, which side, left or right, and how it's going to break it down.
Okay.
So what an amazing thing. Cinnamon, they just take cinnamon and depression can disappear from that.
Just from cinnamon?
Yeah.
I can imagine. A depression lifts from my mom the moment she's around a cinnamon bun.
Oh, see, and that's sugar. That's a sugar will decide where to go and make you happy. Sugar's supposed to make you happy, but if it goes to the wrong side of the pancreas, it does the opposite.
Oh, really?
Gets you resentful and you get around people that are jealous or resentful, that's a horrible depression.
To receive updates on the next episode, go to commonrootsradio.com. This podcast is available on iTunes. Search for Common Roots Radio and please subscribe. This is a production by Common Roots Radio.